Hi, I'm Dan and welcome to my shed. Today I want to start the first of a series of videos on how I made this bronze low angle plane. So the first step I had to take before I made the plane obviously is to think about what sort of a plane I was going to make and why I wanted to make it. The reason why I made this plane is because I wanted a plane this size, and so the size that I decided to make this plane was 50 mil by about 165 mil long. So it just fitted in between the plane sizes that I had. And so the first thing we've got to think about before we make a project is start with the end in mind, of course, is what sort of a job do I want to finish up with? What sort of a project do I want to do? And so I wanted a low angle plane, and so this is a 20-degree plane, and that's why I chose this. The second thing I had to think about is what materials, because there's different materials you could make the plane out of. The first one is you could make a fabricated plane out of brass flat bar, and you see one that's been made by Pask Makes, P-A-S-K Makes, and he's made one out of brass, and he also made one out of wood as well, which are brilliant jobs that he's done. I decided I wanted to cast a plane, basically because it's different trades are involved and different skills, and that's what I wanted to do, is develop my skills a little bit more. And so it's thinking about what are the materials that you want to use. I decided I wanted to make mine out of bronze, and aluminium bronze, and basically because of its corrosion resistant, because that it's good as far as friction is concerned, and also because of the fun just making all the parts that have needed to be made. The next thing to think about before you start on a project like this is what sort of machinery do I have to make it with. Now, the one that Pask Makes, he fabricated his, and he basically made his with using a hacksaw and file and a drill and all the different gear, the taps and dies, things that you could get from a hardware store. Well, this one here, the machinery you need here is a lot more extensive, of course. Probably not more complicated at all, but just more machinery is involved. And so I had to make a furnace, I had to make up green sand and moulding boxes, and also needed a milling machine to machine it with, and lathe to machine the parts down with. And so also the thing to think about before going on a task like this is what sort of skill level do I have. Not saying that using a hacksaw and a file is any less skill. There's a lot of skill involved in that, but what skill, if I want to machine it, what skills do I have? What skills do I need to learn? And so the first part that I want to do in this series is the first steps that I went through to make this plane. So first of all, of course, is the designing of the plane. You see here, I designed this here, the 20-degree angle in the blade, and just drew the sketch out, and how I was going to adjust the blade, the top, how that was all going to work. I've changed this here and so added something. And so the beauty about when you're designing something yourself is you can change the design as you go. There's nothing that can't be changed, and I've changed this one as I've gone as well. The next thing involved in making a plane like this that I'm going to pour out of metal is I need to make a pattern. This pattern here I've made out of wood, and so I've changed this pattern around a bit. Very, very simple. It's just a piece of flat wood that I've carved out, and I've just glued bits in, and when I've got it all glued in basically to the design that I wanted, is then I glued the sides on here, and then just put bits of body filler in there, and put a radius on around the bottoms around here, and just sanded away till I got it where I wanted. And then all of these things, of course, have got to have a slight taper on them. You see that's tapered, the back here is tapered, the sides are tapered. And the purpose of that is so that when you pack sand around it and you're making the mold, is that the mold will come out of the sand quite easily. So once you've made it out of wood and things like that, and you're pretty happy with it, then all you do is just put a bit of body filler in there to smoothen it off. And once you've smoothened it off, get some spray putty, spray it, and then sand it off nice and smooth, and then put a nice finished gloss coat so that it slides out and it's nice and it's nice and slippery to slide out of the sand. And you can see here where I've changed this, I've added a bit more onto the bottom of it, and that's a later adaptation because once I molded one I wasn't happy with it, and so I changed it. And the thing is about when you're doing a hobby like this, you're not trying to do make a lot of money out of, or if any money. You're doing it because you enjoy it, because it's fun. And so if it doesn't work out the first time, which very rarely happens, you just remelt it down and change the mold to the way you want to make it. And so it's about getting the size right, it's about getting the shape right and everything like that. In this project I'm doing, I'm making 4 of these, and in later videos you'll see that I make jigs up to be able to machine them, so that there's less setting up time that's involved as well. And so once you get your patterns done, things like this, you'll notice here, this is the top of this plane that I'm making here. This original one that I made, it's wider, but it was a little bit heavy, so I decided that I wanted to lighten it up. But you know, I made quite a few patterns. I made this pattern after that, and I noticed it was too thin here and thought, oh well, I'll have to change that. So what do? You just have another go. And then here's another one, that's the original one, and then I ended up with this one here. And it's only made, you can see it's only made out of wood, and you just carve it out to the shape that you want. It's in 2 pieces because when you make your mold in the sand, this goes in the bottom box, and you pack your sand around it, and then you roll the box over, that exposes that, and then you put your top bit on, and this goes into your top box, and then you pack your sand around, and when you've done that, you open it up and you just take these out, and so that you end up with your pattern that's made. Then with your pattern, then you've got to make a riser, and so this is just a simple riser, and then you pour one, you give it a go, see how it go, and if it doesn't work out any good, well, you just melt it down and have another go at it. And so that's the first step, is your deciding of the material, deciding of the shape, the design that you want to make the plane, and making your patterns, deciding whether you want to make one that you pour out of metal, and if you do, how are you going to machine it, if you're going to machine it, and what skill level you're at. And of course, when you do these, you're going to grow in your skill level. You're going to be far better once you've done your first one than what you were. You see, this is the first one I had to go at. This is an aluminium one, and anyway, that's your first go. It's my first go. And so your first go is always the worst go. You just get better as you go. And so that's the first bit that I did, and when I was making this plane, and I encourage you to give it a go. Decide, have a project, work out the design, and give it a go. Thank you.